Hello, I'm Gator McKlusky, and this is the Burt Reynolds story. Chapter 9!
Well, Gator McKlusky is sitting on a stump with the hammer pulled back on the 12-gauge pump. Watching that swamp, looking out for the law. Well, it makes the best corn that you ever saw.
People said to me, what was it like from going from number 1 to number 2? I said, I am the only guy in the world who was number 1 for 5 years. I'm also the only one that went from number 1 to number 78. The phone stopped ringing for about a year. It was a little disappointing. Son of a bitch. I naively felt that there'd be a whole bunch of people that I was crazy about. I thought was crazy about me. And I didn't hear from them, no.
When Burt turned
50.
In 1986...
I didn't hear that. I know, because when you get as old as you can't hear.
No movie offers were coming in, so he returned to TV.
From the silver screen, Burt Reynolds.
He appeared alongside Loni Anderson.
There are certain things a woman should never, never do. What's at the top of the list?
Point and laugh.
And Dom DeLuise.
What is that, Burt Reynolds' tongue?
In this, the pilot episode of the new Hollywood Squares.
I'm directing one of the amazing stories, and it's a love story between these two. And it's, as you can see, why they call it an amazing story.
He directed an episode of Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories titled Guilt Trip, starring Charles Durning.
Oh, really?
Dom DeLuise. Charles Nelson Riley.
So come on down. 3 priests, no waiting, you know what I mean?
And Loni Anderson.
We had to decide right off that we were not going to bring anything from home to the set, that it's a director-actress relationship. I don't know if you're in love with love or me, because I don't know whether you're in love with what I am, which is love, or the idea of being in love, which is what I do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
This was kind of a test for us to see if we could do this together. Now we want to work together again. I'd like you to direct me again.
Don't ever leave me.
Why would I ever want to do that?
Is he a good director?
He's a wonderful director.
Burt was also to star in an episode of Amazing Stories, directed by Orson Welles. But sadly, it didn't happen.
I had been given permission for him to direct an Amazing Stories, if I was in it. And he was really excited about it. And he said, we'll do it, and it'll be great. But I had to go to Steven Spielberg, who's, I got liver spots older than him, and ask permission if he would let Orson Welles do one of these shows. It was kind of unbelievable. It's staggering that the town does that,
In the beginning, there was Clark Gable. Then came Cary Grant. And finally, on the 7th day, the Lord created Burt Reynolds. It was a very good day. Ladies and gentlemen, our co-host for the evening, Mr. Burt Reynolds.
In September of 1985, Burt was the co-host of Elizabeth Taylor's AIDS fundraiser called Commitment to Life. Burt would go on to express his frustration at being asked why he was offering his support.
First of all, I want to congratulate myself on how terrific I look.
Burt would go on to express his frustration as to why the media was questioning his involvement in this charity event.
Like most of you here tonight, I've been involved in literally dozens of charity events for various diseases over the years, but I've never been asked why. If this dinner was a benefit for fighting cancer research or any disease other than AIDS, no one would ever think of asking such a stupid question as, why are you involved? I pray to God that we will also be an example for the rest of the world, turning our focus away from the question of who has, who doesn't have AIDS, and focus on the only question that matters, curing AIDS and wiping it off the face of the damn earth.
He continued to direct on TV with an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents Method Actor.
I put you on the board in the first place. You stabbed me in the back. Yeah, well, you were a swing vote.
Starring Martin Sheen, Mary Lou Henner.
Oh, sure, what you want is a reason to quit so you have an excuse to crawl inside a bottle.
Parker Stevenson and Robbie Benson.
I mean, whoever gets this part, it's gonna be, and the winner is.
Burt also appeared in an episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents back in 1960.
Please, don't leave me.
Stuart Rosenberg, who is now a movie director, was directing and was very smitten with the girl. The only direction I ever got from him was, please move out of the way, I can't see her.
Our 1981 Variety Club honoree, Mr. Burt Reynolds.
Burt made light of his situation at the all-star party for President Ronald Reagan.
I look at that center table, and I really wouldn't want your job.
I don't think any of us here have to worry about that.
In December of 1985, Burt was honored when the town of Jupiter, Florida, renamed Jupiter Island Park Burt Reynolds Park, which it remains to this day.
Who wouldn't want to be marooned in a tropical paradise with Loni Anderson?
Burt was offered a movie in 1986 when NBC offered him the lead in Stranded opposite Loni Anderson. He ended up turning it down, saying, "I can do 10 flop theatrical movies and still get $1 million for the 11th. But if I do 1 TV movie, that's a failure. My career is over."
Hello.
But he did appear as himself in an episode of The Golden Girls.
My God, you're Mr. Burt Reynolds.
I hope so, otherwise I got the wrong underwear on. He's the roommate you told me about?
Yeah.
Which one's a slut?
With the stress of the last few years, the pressure of sudden money problems, and the pain he felt at so-called friends and studios not answering his calls, the Burt who came back from illness was a different man, and he was no longer the laid-back, light-hearted joker in interviews. At times, he seemed very irritated.
There was a time when you were, the most popular actor in America.
Well, you talk like it was 100 years ago.
No,
it was 3 years ago.
I haven't got an abundance of William Goldman scripts on my desk.
Well, that was about to change. As Burt finally got that William Goldman script on his desk, it was producer Elliot Kastner who offered him the lead role in the Robert Altman-directed Heat.
They say I kept calling out for you in emergency.
Who put you in emergency?
I don't know for sure.
For Burt, this was a much-needed career boost, a script by a man with 2 Academy Awards, combined with the director of hits like MASH and The Long Goodbye.
Oh, Jesus.
Burt was offered $2 million for this role, a significant drop from only a few years earlier, but a much-needed payday for him at this time.
I need fuck you money.
And what attracted me to the project was that Bill Goldman, and he wrote a book called Heat.
You, probably basically a violent man.
No, I'm not. I'm just good at it. When I was hired to star in Heat, the trades handled it like it was any other casting notice. But for me, it was a godsend, and I thought I'd hit pay dirt again. It turned out I would hit something else.
I play a bodyguard in Las Vegas. He physically can do almost anything, in terms of punishing people. There's a young man, a wonderful young actor named Peter McNichol, who was in Sophie's Choice, who's, trying to become a man, if you'll pardon the expression.
I just want to lead a braver life. Maybe you could show me.
And he comes to me to learn how to fight.
Crash course in bravery. God help us.
Burt plays Nick Escalante, a complicated man.
Why would I use a gun?
What the fuck kind of question is that? Why would anybody use a gun?
His specialty is edged weapons. I suspect Nicholas is the most lethal man alive.
Well, he lets people beat him up for money.
Oh!
He's sweet to little kids, has a gambling problem, takes pills to help him with his migraines, and dreams of escaping to Venice.
Well, I've been knocked down, blown up, lied to, shit on, shot at. I'm not a virgin except in my heart.
My cousin's name is Cynthia.
I'm a licensed pilot.
We're out of beer, Victor.
I lectured on economics at Yale.
I should have prepared more material for today.
And I'm fluent in 4 languages.
Ich hab Socken, die sind älter als du.
And?
God.
Don't interrupt me, I'm not through.
There's more.
Yeah, I lie a lot.
Burt was joined by a strong supporting cast, including Peter McNichol,
Wait a minute, guys. Now look, I'm an innocent bystander.
who had starred in Sophie's Choice and would win an Emmy for Ally McBeal in 2001. Neil Barry.
You're very stupid. But even so, you probably know what this is.
Neil worked with director Robert Altman in O.C. and Stiggs. Lonnie's WKRP in Cincinnati co-star Howard Hessman.
They're coming to kill you, asshole.
Karen Young.
Some swell games to play with another human, right, Nikki? And I want to sue him, and you know who he is, and just let him walk away?
Who was fresh off of 9.5 weeks.
Miss Sinclair's on the phone?
God, what does he want?
I don't know.
I mean, that's really sick, Sharky.
Bert's Sharky's Machine co-star Joseph Mascalo.
I have to find the truth.
You mean I'm on trial?
For your life.
Oh, look what we got here, a miniature cop.
Alfie Wise in his usual short appearance.
I'm working on a new customer for you. Maybe I should tell you about it.
Later, Felix.
And New York Jets Hall of Famer Joe Klecko. Unfortunately, the project was a disaster. 2 days before shooting started, director Altman hit Elliot Kastner with a beer bottle.
Hey, asshole! Oh, shit! Oh! I hit him!
And quit the movie.
Is it over? I hope you want more.
So director Dick Richards, who had a few impressive credits to his name, including the 1975 film Farewell, My Lovely, and also produced the Oscar-winning film Tootsie in 1982. So this guy was clearly a reasonable fit at the time.
Really?
Burt almost worked with Richards before when he was hired to direct WW and the Dixie Dance Kings in October of 1972, but was replaced by John G. Avildsen. Unfortunately, Burt couldn't stand Richards, and after one altercation, actually knocked him out cold.
No, I hit a guy once who was a director. I felt so bad about it. I said, I'm going to go back and apologize to that guy. And when I got back, it was body chucked him.
Richards told Burt he wanted him to pay his medical expenses, buy him a $40,000 Jaguar with a big ribbon on it, and apologize in front of the cast and crew.
You're a peach of a guy.
The next day, Richards fell off a prop truck claiming he had headaches, impaired vision, and had to walk off the set and return home.
Bye-bye and so long.
It's unclear if Burt took over directing the film during this period, but due to a Directors Guild of America rule, he wasn't allowed to do so.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Known as the Eastwood Rule, established when Clint had a run-in with director Philip Kaufman on the set of Outlaw Josie Wales back in 1976, and took over the directing of that film. It was reported that Kastner himself directed 5 days, the most allowed by the DGA, followed by the production being shut down for a month until Kastner found another director.
This is your show.
Jerry Jameson was hired to finish the film.
Blah-de-blah.
Burt joined a list of Robert Mitchum, Gene Hackman, and Catherine Deneuve, who had all taken swings at Richards.
I like to think of myself as being in the people business.
Richards sued him for damages to the tune of $25 million. Burt hit back with a countersuit saying Richards had backed out of their original deal and a settlement couldn't be reached.
Don't mess with these guys.
So it went to court. Burt was ordered to pay Richards $500,000.
It's no big deal.
It wasn't close to the $25 million Richards wanted, but given Burt's financial situation, it was a crushing defeat.
I want to be alone, Kenny.
I'll be quiet.
In his 1994 autobiography, My Life, Burt called it the costliest one-punch fight in history.
How much is that?
$1,000.
I'm not worth $1,000.
So, Jerry Jameson was now at the helm to finish this troubled film.
Dan August, starring Burt Reynolds.
His first directing job was an episode of Dan August.
Get out of the way. One way to settle an argument.
And would go on to direct an episode of B.L. Stryker.
Ain't like the movies, kid.
Dick Richards, however, never directed another picture.
A lot of people like it.
The showgirls have mustaches, and the waitresses can rip the phone book in half.
According to writer William Goldman, at least 6 directors worked on the film at different times. Altman, Richards, Jameson, Elliot Kastner, perhaps Burt himself, and another who we here at the Burt Reynolds Story can't seem to track down.
Now, when you have determined there is going to be violence, where do you like to strike?
Not so good.
Dick Richards is credited as R.M. Richards in the finished movie. The Directors Guild ruled that Richards was responsible for 41% of the finished film, with Jerry Jameson 31%. Richards said, "I had nothing to do with the editing of the film. I was one of 5 directors. All I did was the casting and 13 days of shooting. I should have taken my name off entirely." Prior to Richards quitting, there were discussions about changing the ending of the film. Kastner and Richards felt that it would be bad box office if the Peter MacNicol character, Cyrus, died in Burt's arms, as it was written in the original screenplay. So they shot an additional scene of Burt visiting Cyrus at the hospital, having survived the shooting.
You disappoint me, Duke.
Why?
You lived. What kind of bullshit bravery is that?
You can actually see here that Burt's hair isn't quite the same, as they shot this sequence at a different time. Now, considering that Burt had come off such a horrible experience in the film Stick, where the studio forced his hand to change the original story, he wanted this film released as it was written on the page. But unfortunately for Burt, the studio won that battle, and they released Heat in 1987 with a happier, more commercial ending.
Yay.
Both Stick and Heat were to have a darker, more disturbing ending, but the studio forced his hand to alter the script.
We're gonna have a lot of fun.
This here shows how the film was originally intended to end, and the version released in the UK and others in that region knew to be the only cut of the movie, often called Blackjack in some releases of the DVD.
Changing deals.
Change dealers and I'm changing casinos.
Change the cards then.
You can change your underwear if you want to, pal. You don't mind my saying so, it's not a bad idea.
Heat was mostly panned by the critics, although Burt got some good notice for his performance, as did Peter MacNicol. It's time for a Siskelini Burt Reynolds Shitty Film Review.
Burt Reynolds is a gambler turned bodyguard in the new action thriller Heat.
The movie takes a very long time, though, to get rolling.
You keep your mouth shut.
The only good scene in the movie is when the two seriously discuss the issue of bravery and fear.
What would you do? You know, I mean, let's just say somebody pulls a gun on you.
Run.
I wish the movie Heat had started with that scene, but in the movie it occurs after an hour. That's what the movie should have been about, and it might have been a very interesting movie to see Burt Reynolds deal with the whole issue of what being a tough guy is all about.
You don't want to hear anymore.
I didn't want to hear this much.
Heat could have been Deliverance in Las Vegas. Instead, it's a choppy, weak imitation of The Karate Kid with lots of action stunts and a whole gambling sequence which just seems thrown in from out of the blue.
Yeah, well, actually, the gambling sequence was very good. I thought that was one of the 2 things I liked. I also liked the thing you mentioned, but also the gambling sequence with him at the blackjack table. Burt Reynolds gives a good performance in this movie. That's why it's all the more disappointing.
Whatever you say.
They didn't have a good screenplay.
You're full of shit.
Tough guy teaches weak guy. Compulsive gambler tries to beat addiction. Las Vegas bodyguard is tough but actually tender inside. Nothing, just confusion, except for those 2 good scenes. And then at the end, once again, they're in that warehouse. I'll bet you 1 out of every 5 movies we've seen in the last 2 years has ended with people with guns chasing each other around a warehouse.
All of us who are not tough guys, right? We might want to ask Burt Reynolds, what's it really like?
Son of a bitch.
And that would have been fascinating. Instead, we get an hour of junk, I'm afraid, of confusions before we ever get to that scene.
All right, you're not wrong.
And that's the end of this Siskelini Burt Reynolds Shitty Film Review. With Heat's release almost 2 full years after his last film, Stick, instead of this being his triumphant return as box office king, the picture opened in 11th place and capped out with under 3 million domestic. Shockingly, some regions, including the UK, didn't even get to see it on the big screen, only on home video. This was the lowest total of any Burt Reynolds feature-starring vehicle up until that point in his career.
I'm fluent in 4 languages and can wrestle with a menu in 5 more.
Jesus.
And don't interrupt me. There's more.
More?
Yeah. I'll lie a lot.
In 2015, Jason Statham would star in a remake of Heat called Wild Card.
Is it all right if I touch you?
The film stays true to the story and steps up the violence, along with adding some solid talent in Jason Alexander.
How you surviving?
You know.
Sofia Vergara.
You're my own little hero.
Stanley Tucci.
If you don't care, why'd you defend yourself?
And the late Anne Heche.
That bad, huh?
But with all that, this remake also failed at the box office. The failure of Heat was especially disappointing for Burt, given how promising the film's initial ingredients were, along with the original attachment of Robert Altman and William Goldman.
It's over. It was all there. A great script, a top director, and all of Hollywood waiting to say, "We're sorry we said you were dying." If nothing else, my performance both on and off the screen quashed any doubts about my physical health. That's the good news. The bad news is I was perceived as a crazy, moody mental case. Gee, it felt good to be back in the movie business. I turned down Cannonball 3. Thank you.
Despite needing the money, Burt turned down a huge fee from Cannon Films to return for Cannonball Run 3, retitled Cannonball Fever.
I turned it down as a sign of maturity, I thought. Make sure your kids know the truth about drugs. And for God's sakes, show them how to cope with stress and pressure without them.
Burt returned to TV for the special Shattered If Your Kid Is on Drugs, also starring Judd Nelson.
You see how the peer pressure works?
You think it was just invented? When I was in high school, you couldn't chug-a-lug a pint of booze, you were nothing.
They all spend all their time thinking about how to get wasted.
It was around this time that Judd was appearing in 2 plays at Burt's Theater, Orphans with Pat Hingle, and Wrestlers with Sarah Jessica Parker, which he also directed. Sadly, their friendship cooled after Judd was arrested in Jupiter, Florida for being drunk and disorderly following his last performance of Wrestlers. Burt continued to lend his support in warning the youth of America about drug abuse.
I love watching old Florida State football films. Hey, that's me, number 46. Look at that kid go. And now here comes my greatest moment of glory. You know, I was always trying to be a hit back then. On the football field, off the football field. Maybe you're trying to be a hit now, too. I'll tell you one thing. Drugs is not the answer. I've seen it all too often in this business, in sports, with teenagers. Nobody ends up a winner with drugs. It takes guts to be a winner. And when you reach your goal, it's great to know that you did it on your own. After all, you can't be a hit when you're high.
Burt voiced Troy Garland for the 4-season sitcom Out of This World.
So, honey, it's just you and me tonight.
Yep, just you and me and the TV guide.
I miss you, Donna.
Oh, I miss you too, Troy.
Starting in 1987, he asked that his name be left off the series credits, since he was doing it as a favor, but there was no mistaking his voice.
I can just picture you in a sexy negligee, your hair all loose and flowing. Am I right, honey? Is that the way you look?
Close.
When Dom DeLuise was promoting his 1988 cookbook, Eat This, Burt made an appearance on his friend's home video to help promote his new project.
You want me to taste this?
Taste this and just give me your
my honest opinion.
Your honest opinion, because I mean, I wrote a cookbook and
I'm noted for that.
Yeah, giving your opinion. I'd like to really see if you. Now, this is an unbiased person, a stranger, and this is, of course, fresh, all fresh ingredients, and he's just going to tell us what he thinks of my sauce.
This tastes like shit.
So then you really are Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
In 1987, Burt created, produced, and starred in his own game show, Win, Lose, or Draw.
We used to play charades at my house every weekend. It got to be sort of star-studded evening. It didn't mean to be, but it just turned out that way.
He is a Burt and Burt production.
He produced the show with his friend, Burt Convey, who was also the host.
And I scratched myself.
This is really a game that a lot of us have been playing for years. In fact, this is the room we've been playing it in because, you see, our set is modeled after Burt's living room. Right, Burt?
Yes.
Yes.
It looks just like this, except I had more people.
Boy, if these walls could talk, huh?
This couch could talk.
Yeah, better, yes.
It was very competitive, always the men against the women, which is the way it should be.
And ladies and gentlemen, Burt Reynolds.
Maybe you would like to complete your ensemble.
Oh, no. There's something else of yours that I want.
Oh, really? What's that?
Your ass!
Burt Convey, who's a dear friend of mine, said, why don't we put this show on the air? And I thought he was totally crazy, but it's on the air.
It's a man. It's a sun. It's a sun horizon. Sun coming over. A tooth? No, it's not a tooth.
Yes!
Fred Astaire was there one night, and needless to say, a wonderful man, but he was very shy. And I wanted him to participate in the evening, so I got a blackboard and I said, you draw it. But of course, you know, some people draw the way their personality is. I mean, when you give him some of the, he drew perfectly, which of course he would. I mean, he was a perfectionist, but he drew tiny, tiny little pieces. We had to get a microscope, and the game went over so well that we started playing it every week. And
Jesus! Paul Revere! I don't know! New York Statue of Liberty!
Burt would bring on his celebrity friends to be on the show.
You're so much fun.
Including Dom DeLuise.
Check. No, it's not it. It's a cheek. That's a cheek. You did very well.
This is a cheek.
That's a check.
This is a cheek.
Loni Anderson.
Spider.
20 seconds.
Girl. Spider girl. Spider man. Spider.
The men spell victory.
She got it.
Betty White.
You all set?
I see.
There it is. Go.
An ice cream cone. Champagne. Who drinks champagne? Martini. Let's see. Olive. Okay, olive oil. Olive oil.
I think that was an accident.
Robbie Benson.
It's
Walking, my baby
walking
back
line.
home.
Why is it
It's
walking
not
line?
walking,
Is walk
it's
one of
like
the words?
walking.
Walk is one of the words?
A crosswalk, a bird walk, a bird.
Can you pass?
Tony Danza.
Who's the boss? Come on, let's talk about it.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. An animal? Animal. Okay,
Bernie Casey.
Hip to look cool. Hip to.
I'm hip to you.
Hip hooray. Yes, that's it. Hip hooray.
Oh, pass on that one.
Pass on that.
Annie Potts.
You'll just have to give it. Well, I certainly will.
Hey, come on.
No, there's no time left. God, I can't do anymore.
Tear gas. Tears.
I thought it was an electric stove, for heaven's sake.
Debbie Reynolds.
It's an apple.
An apple.
Apple? Well, obviously she's having. Do you mind if I asking how old you are?
18.
And a young Jason Bateman was a whiz at the game.
It's a tree. It's a man. Belt. A belt. A buckle. Buckle up.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a funny show, and if you're very competitive, which a lot of people are, and funny, it's a perfect show.
What are you wearing under the jacket?
Yeah, you're right, nothing.
I have underwear on. Okay, well.
With the show being a hit and making lots of money for those involved, it wasn't enough to get Burt out of his financial hole.
Win, lose, or draw is possibly going to make me 10% as rich as Merv Griffin.
I was just wondering if Burt would say happy birthday to my mother. She's sitting right over there.
Where's your mother?
Give it something she'll remember for a long time. You ready?
Also, there's a possibility that Burt being on Win, Lose, or Draw might have further damaged his box office appeal.
We'll see you next time, I hope, if we're not a garage right here on Win, Lose, or Draw. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Money woes stayed with me. I got rid of some properties, and I grabbed whatever pictures were offered. There are times that you can be artistic, and there are times when you have to be realistic. This is one of the latter.
It's action-packed. You do all the stunts?
Yeah, I did the stunts, but it's getting harder every year, you know. When I jump off a building now, I used to just jump off a building and sort of hit and scramble along like Douglas Fairbanks, you know. I jump off a building now and I get 3 inches shorter.
Getting too old for this.
Malone was based on author William Wingate's 1980 novel, Shotgun. though it plays more like a remake of the classic movie Shane.
I've heard that you're a low-down Yankee liar.
I'm not doing Clinton Pale Rider. There's a bit of Stallone from First Blood in this, but I'm not playing the damaged good guy Sly became in Rambo.
It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing!
Malone was in Orion's Pictures release, the studio at the time having success with films like Hoosiers,
The Three Amigos!
Three Amigos, RoboCop,
Your move, creep.
and the Oscar-winning Platoon.
What happened to this town? They discovered toxic waste?
With a budget of $10 million, Burt got paid $3 million to star in this action picture. Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Kurt Russell, and Mel Gibson were all offered this role before Burt was cast.
Yeah, I was wondering why people that would never dream of laughing at a blind or a crippled man will laugh at a moron.
Oscar winner Cliff Robertson was cast as the heavy.
You shouldn't be fighting me, Richard. We should be on the same side.
Cynthia Gibb as Joe Barlow.
I've been thinking, and in 5 years I'll be older.
So will I.
Gibb was an up-and-coming actress at the time, appearing in Youngblood with Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze. Oliver Stone's Salvador with James Woods. Gibb enjoyed her time working with Burt, saying, "He made me feel like an equal on set when I was still such a novice."
You like that car better than me?
He's a lot less service than you do.
In her third film with Burt, Lauren Hutton.
I think it's time for you to get some help.
Why?
Because you can't do your job anymore.
Hutton starred in Burt's directorial debut, Gator, and also in 1981's Paternity.
When you look at my genitals, think of them as a potato peeler.
Famous for that gap in her teeth, with Burt even making fun of it in Gator.
You think this looks better?
And with a gap filled.
Fill the gap, yes.
In Malone, she actually had that famous gap filled in.
Yeah, I think you look a lot better that way.
Yeah, chauvinist porker.
Scott Wilson.
When were you in Vietnam? 1961. That was a little early, wasn't it? Not for what I was supposed to do.
Here you go. Want to have some fun?
No thanks.
Dennis Berkeley.
As long as you jerk your with, you'll drop your little panties anytime I tell you to.
Berkeley would go on to appear with Burt in 2 episodes of Evening Shade.
We ain't leaving till we get the whole story.
Tracy Walter. Ken McMillan.
How come you got a post office box for an address?
I move around a lot.
You know, looking at Ken, you can't help but wonder if maybe Charles Durning turned down this role.
No.
Malone was directed by Harley Cockless. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but Cockless was the second unit director on The Empire Strikes Back. Filming wasn't smooth, with reports hitting the press that the script was being rewritten daily. Burt didn't even receive the rewrite of the finale with Cliff Robertson until the night before. Malone went way over schedule, which forced a delay to the start of Burt's next film, Rent-A-Cop.
Morning.
Unfortunately, despite looking much healthier,
Looks like you have a problem.
the AIDS rumors resurfaced again, which Burt's manager, David Gershenson, denied to the press, saying someone's going out of their way to hurt Burt.
Put it down.
Burt uses a .44 Magnum Automag,
Well, this is the .44 Magnum Automag.
the same gun Clint Eastwood used in the Dirty Harry film Sudden Impact.
And if properly used, it can remove the fingerprints.
This scene may look typical for an action film, but perhaps Burt was the first actor to walk away from an explosion like this. Now here's just a few blockbusters that stole the idea from Malone. If not for Malone, those films would have never been possible. Malone was savaged by critics, with sadly an uncomfortable obsession with Burt's hair.
As for Reynolds, he's so laid back and invisible in the starring role.
By whose definition?
That the only suspense he leaves us is how straight he can stand so as not to topple his obvious hair weave.
You have no idea.
Jeffrey, I think it's very unfair to review Burt Reynolds' hairpiece.
You push, I'll steer.
You know, if I had it to do all over again, I would do it natural, not wear a toupee. But I ended up seeing this guy William Shatner sent me to, Edward Katz. He's a genius at what he does because his pieces are so hard to spot. Most guys with toupees overcompensate. They want too much hair. They end up piling it up high and looking like a weird flower. But if someone offered me a movie now, and I'm still waiting for one, I'd go back to my natural look with whatever I have left up there.
Burt never made a secret about his hair and joked about it all the time.
I thought that you had more hair.
I do have more hair. It's in the house. My beard is not off and my hair is not on. So you have me at a tremendous disadvantage. I am as vulnerable as I could possibly be.
Here we can see Malone in the barber shop, clearly getting a bit of a wig trim before killing a lot of people.
You're making a mistake.
Richard, this thing is so good it has its own dandruff.
Burt didn't seem to have high expectations for Malone's success.
Don't know about Malone. I have, a little, I don't know. I'm ambivalent about it.
Released less than 2 months after Heat with this ridiculously dull poster, Malone failed to make an impact at the box office, grossing only $3 million in May of 1987. And it went direct to video in a lot of territories. Malone did get a much better kick-ass VHS cover for its home release, where it actually did well and found an audience, quickly grossing over $10 million in rentals. Perhaps that great box art helped it fly off the shelves.
Wrong.
For me, those pictures, Heat and Malone, those pictures were... I've been out of action for 2.5 years, and suddenly they wanted me to fight Marvin Hagler, you know? And I hadn't had any fights. And I wasn't going to get in the ring with him, so you have to have a couple tune-up fights, you know?
In September of 1987, Burt returned home to Florida State University as they welcomed him back to plant the historic spear at the game versus Texas Tech.
What you been up to? Got a job over at Carson's department store. Oh, Jesus, Church, you rent a cop? You can do better than that. I hope so.
Burt's fans hope so too, as our hero took the role of Tony Church in the 1987 film Rent-A-Cop.
Put your hands on the counter, don't move.
Why would I move? I'm not moving.
Burt got $3 million for this film that reunited him with his Lucky Lady co-star, Liza Minnelli.
What are you looking at?
Nothing.
Thanks.
This was Liza's first movie since the critically acclaimed Arthur 6 years earlier.
Kiss your wife like that?
I'm not married.
Keep smiling. 688 5549.
Sometimes you wait for a part. Sometimes, like, it could have been 2 years earlier, but it wasn't. Sometimes you just say, part's not quite as good as the one I'd really like. And then something like Rent-A-Cop comes along and is handed to you by somebody like Burt Reynolds.
Can't you just once do what I say without arguing?
No.
The only thing that intrigued me about this screenplay was Liza.
Where am I going to hide this?
I'll tell you, but you hit me.
If Liza did it, I wanted to do it.
The film also features Richard Mauser.
What the hell am I gonna do? I guess you better go ahead and shoot me, Roger.
You're a cop. What the hell did you bring a cop here for?
The great Dionne Warwick.
Bullshit. Cops don't give a damn about people like us.
I know who you are, boy, because you're me.
Guardians of the Galaxy's Michael Rooker, whose normally recognizable voice is clearly dubbed here.
Don't you know smoking's bad for your health, old man?
So is this. Spread them.
James Remar, who played the heavy in the 1982 film 48 Hours.
Nice gun.
Also plays the bad guy role here. Burt's Sharky's Machine co-star, Bernie Casey.
What are you going to do now?
I'm going to go back and join the human race.
Well, you know what, Churchy? I don't think they're going to have you.
And Robbie Benson.
Hey, Tony.
What do you do about his diaper rash?
The production filmed on location in Chicago before moving to Rome, Italy for the interiors in order to keep the costs down.
Every time you're around me, I get fired. You're bad luck.
Oh, I'm bad luck, huh? Not a Darth Vader who blew everybody's balls off in the hotel, huh?
Nice.
I've done movies where I'm kind of the straight man, like in Arthur. But I was really the top banana in this one, and Burt was kind of the straight man.
Hookers and baseball players, when their legs go, it's time to get out.
I thought you weren't hooking anymore.
I'm not. It was just a joke. It was a joke.
And he just was so lovely because he just kept handing it to me.
Sometimes you have to go through a hell of a lot to find out what you're really good at.
He's a cop, obviously, that hates hookers, and that makes it interesting. And he's a guy who's very old-fashioned.
I like the 60s. Life was simple then. Only thing I had to worry about was trying to get laid for the first time.
Still trying?
Directed by Jerry London, this being his first feature film, London was best known for directing classic TV shows before taking on this picture.
Sexual preference, baby dolls and bathtubs. Maybe I am a little out of touch.
Maybe.
Oscar winner Jerry Goldsmith provided the score here, this being the third time he did music for a Burt Reynolds film.
Rent-A-Cop, the one I did with Liza, I feel very confident about that film. She hasn't done a picture in 6 or 7 years, I think. And we were like kids, you know, we were having such a good time.
The critics were not kind to Rent-A-Cop.
It's time for a Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
But a better title would be Rent a Screenwriter. That's because Rent-A-Cop is the very tired, utterly predictable story of a Chicago detective, Burt Reynolds, whose buddies are killed during a drug bust by a gun-blazing armed warrior, somebody Arnold Schwarzenegger would like to fight, I assume. Reynolds' boss suspects that Reynolds might be involved in the crime. That is highly illogical in the story. But an even worse character is Liza Minnelli, a dopey call girl who just happens to be working the same hotel floor where the drug shootout takes place. The whole look of this film is phony, too, as is the threat that Burt Reynolds received from another former cop. Weren't you totally surprised when he doesn't kill his buddy? That's because the movie has to go on for at least another 25 minutes with a final shootout and an equally predictable resolution to the Reynolds-Minnelli romance.
Dick.
Roger and I just did a show called Big Stars and Bad Movies in 1987. Let's mark down Rent-A-Cop for the same show in 1988.
I agree with you that this movie is absolutely off the formula line when it comes to the story. In fact, every cliche in this movie, every plot development, every character, the descriptions of the characters, what the characters do, how they relate to each other, is absolutely right off the shelf. I like the relationship between Burt Reynolds and Liza Minnelli. I thought it was an interesting relationship. I thought it was the best work I'd seen them do in quite a while.
That's not saying much.
I would have liked to have seen the same relationship in a better plot.
There is one scene where Liza Minnelli says something nice to him about her life, and it's a close-up of Liza Minnelli. She looks good. She has something honest to say. That lasts about 10 seconds. 10 seconds of reality.
I'd like a little more than 10 seconds.
That's what she said.
But in any event, I agree with you that the screenplay could have been
written by 1,000 monkeys.
Wouldn't have taken 1,000 monkeys, and they wouldn't have had to be that smart, though. You're right.
Movie over?
And that's the end of this Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
Rent-A-Cop landed on Gene Siskel's top 10 worst of 1988, Burt's first on the list since 1984, with Cannonball Run 2 and City Heat.
Ow! Get out of here, you little shit!
Rent-A-Cop was originally planned to have a large Christmas opening in theaters.
Merry Christmas.
However, the studio decided to do more editing, delaying its release until the month of January, where films typically go to die. Rent-A-Cop opened on only 193 screens, unheard of for a Burt Reynolds release, tanking so badly that it fell short of making $1 million of its $10 million budget.
This is really shitty.
In only 3 short years, the former box office king had become box office poison.
I'm sorry, kid.
Yeah, sure.
I am.
I just did a movie with Burt Reynolds and Kathleen Turner. It's a remake of His Girl Friday, the old Cary Grant film.
After Burt's trilogy of action pictures failed miserably at the box office, it was time to try something different. So he signed on to the romantic comedy Switching Channels, replacing another iconic actor who was forced to drop off the project.
Well, I had rehearsed with Michael Caine. Yeah, I was supposed to do the film with Michael Caine. Good choice, right? Yes.
So she sort of really liked him. And I'm not really a Michael Caine type. And I replaced him because he was doing Jaws 112.
I think it was called Jaws 4.
The shark that killed Martin and Sean is following the family.
The Revenge, yeah.
This time, it's personal.
And I guess he was stuck in Jaws and couldn't get out or something.
Oh, shit!
Somebody said to me, I saw that Jaws 4.
2 Bahama Mamas, please.
He said, it stinks.
Son of a bitch!
I said, I haven't seen it, but I've seen the house it bought my mother, and it's marvelous.
Yeah. They called me, and I rushed up there.
I'll be right there. Come on.
And she didn't want me to be there at all.
I'm gonna kill you.
Who, me? It was just miserable.
Something's starting to stink here.
But I'm not going to tell her name because it's being polite. But I will tell the entire audience when we go to commercial who she is.
Lay knows everything about me, Sully.
I mean, even the, She didn't want me. She wanted somebody else. If I'd have been her first choice, I'd have been in the picture from the get.
Are you sure, darling?
Sure. Me, Sully, you darling. And I don't have to prove myself to Kathleen Turner. I know what I can do comedy-wise. That wasn't a problem. It's uncomfortable in the sense that you're arriving late. That's always a problem.
Clearly, Burt struggled initially with having to step into a movie that was well into shooting, working with a cast that had already rehearsed for weeks before filming began.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable at first. I mean, it was a difficult situation, but there was a immediate camaraderie with me and a lot of people on the show, and they saw that I have a sense of the silly, about me. So that happened real quick.
Say, do you know what she did the third time we went out?
Do we ever?
Were you concerned about working with him at all?
No, he's a pro.
Did you guys hang around together? Did you become
No,
friends?
we don't hang around together.
Unfortunately, Burt and Kathleen couldn't stand each other, so I had to take on the added burden of being a referee, trying to be funny while dealing with personal problems, and a tense atmosphere on the set was absolutely exhausting.
Sorry, that doesn't work anymore. I don't buy your emotional...
Hey, time out. Let's calm down here, okay?
He is so gorgeous and so tall and so swell looking because she tells me that she wants me to meet her new husband-to-be.
Bingo! John L. Sullivan IV.
And, of course, you always picture in your mind that they're marrying Arnold Stang.
As soon as they see me hanging around, people start locking up their mutts.
No offense to Arnold Stang.
Just kidding.
But you hope that it's going to be some guy who's kind of small and has a funny voice and not too attractive. And you glance over and there's this fellow who looks perfect,
Hi.
So you can do a take then.
I'm sorry. She said the guy with the tick. How are you?
The problem with Men of Steel, there's never one around when you want one.
It was around this time that Christopher Reeve was looking to escape typecasting, as he would always be known best for his role as Clark Kent in Superman.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
Maybe you did one Superman too many.
Too many, to be very honest.
So?
I think so.
So Reeve was looking to play characters as far away from the Man of Steel as he could get.
Very unusual for me.
Well, it's funny. You could almost say that one's OTT, over the top.
Excuse me, sir. I've got to frisk you.
No, thanks. Never mind. It's fine.
We're very far out there. I play a genuine jerk. I mean, a dyed-in-the-wool jerk.
My apartment overlooks the goddamn United Nations. I want you to come with me right now.
What?
I'm not sure whether that was a great career move or not.
You come with me right now. You're not coming at all.
That's it. Treat her rough. She likes that.
The writers thought it would be funny to have Reeve's character afraid of heights. When talking to the press about switching channels, Burt singled out Reeve for praise and said that if there was any justice, he would be nominated for an Academy Award.
I'm really quite a complicated person,
Back in 1976, Burt was actually considered for the Superman role before Richard Donner decided to go with an unknown actor.
Well,
Burt may never have accepted this role if not for his financial situation. He had a horrible time working with Kathleen Turner, and they traded insults for years to come.
She was mean, and then she tried to have me fired every day. It was just the worst experience I've ever had in my life.
You are a ruthless, bullying asshole!
What was the crux of why you and Kathleen Turner didn't get along?
I take the fifth.
Despite their hatred for one another, somehow these professionals were able to hide this from the audience and deliver outstanding performances.
You're not gonna get sentimental on me, are you?
Oh, no.
Say, you love me and that stuff?
Not unless you do.
Film is strange. Sometimes you look at films and you say, we can actually see you falling in love with that leading lady, and if they only knew the truth.
I think we should do this more often.
Yeah. Some of them were not real nice ladies. But I've been lucky. I'd say 90% of the leading ladies I've had have been sensational people and wonderful, wonderful actors. And the exceptions to the rule, I don't think you can tell when you look at the film.
I love it when you're sincere. It's completely transparent, but it's kind of charming.
It really isn't important what she thinks, you know? It's really only important what that camera thinks. And if that camera thinks the two of us are crazy about each other, then we got a movie.
Christy, beautiful. Hard-ass creep. Was inspired. Of course, we might lose our license.
Unfortunately, Turner couldn't let it go, and even after Burt's death, she was still taking shots at Burt.
What was your worst on-screen kiss? Oh, that'd have to be Burt Reynolds.
Really? I remember that movie.
Thank God you're back. Jesus, good to see you.
That's actually the only kiss in the film. Oh, and this one.
If Burt Reynolds ran a network,
Why is there a fire on Channel 4 and we don't have it?
or if Burt Reynolds was a publisher,
We've had some great stories, haven't we, kid?
what kind of a policy would you have about celebrity profiles?
You're really gonna film a man dying?
This is a 24-hour news station. This is not the Cosby Show.
What you would let them do and not do?
I need you.
The reporters.
I certainly wouldn't say that everything's fair.
10 minutes there!
I mean, you can't go after everybody.
Get down there and interview that woman.
Me?
Don't you want the story?
Yes, come on, guys!
Tell them a story.
Switching Channels was directed by Ted Kotcheff, best known for classics like First Blood, Weekend at Bernie's, and Uncommon Valor.
Hey.
Joining Burt once again was his friend Ned Beatty.
Even if this man lives, who cares?
Switching Channels was also the big screen reunion between Christopher Reeve and Ned Beatty, who starred in the first two Superman movies together.
Otis, take the gentleman's cape. I don't think he wants me to, Mr. Luthor.
Henry Gibson.
I did it for revenge and nothing more. Maybe I'm getting what I deserve.
Gibson would go on to appear with Burt in an episode of Evening Shade.
You don't get here very often, do you?
No, not at all.
As John L. Sullivan IV, Burt got the role once played by Cary Grant in His Girl Friday.
I didn't even try to make a remake. And first of all, I didn't have time to think about. If I had to think about Cary Grant, I probably wouldn't have done the picture.
Is it important? Listen, Louis, you're the best friend I got.
I like you too.
All right, then don't fail me. Get enough people to move that desk. Now, come on, I'm relying on you.
You know me, boss. The shirt off my back.
Okay, don't bump into anything.
It derives first from the old Heck MacArthur play, The Front Page, and then that went to His Girl Friday, and then now to the remake. And what it really is an homage to the whole business.
I'll keep you informed.
And that once they've been attracted to the grease paint, the glamour, the excitement, that they can't give it up. So it's the love affair really is between Kathleen Turner and journalism. And it's also a farce rather than a drama.
What? Roscoe's behind bars. What do you want to do with Ludlow?
Keep that little champion there. No food, no water.
Got it.
My version was a little rougher around the edges, and I made the guy sort of different. And I don't have 1 second of worrying about being compared to Mr. Grant in this picture because it's not anywhere like him. It's the state's attorney's word against an Ampex tape, which I went on television in 15 minutes. Switching Channels looks good. In fact, the word of mouth on it's so good, I wish they wouldn't release the picture. I just like to walk around and hear about how good it is.
An early screening of the film received an 85% rating of good to excellent. So expectations were pretty high when the movie opened in March of 1988.
Maybe if this picture is successful, I'll get some more offers like this. See, we made the news.
Yeah.
It's time for a Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
I thought that the Christopher Reeve character was funny for maybe 2 minutes, and then he became sort of a crushing bore. In addition, I didn't find much chemistry going on between Reynolds and Turner. I did not believe for any moment that they were lovers.
You did it.
It's put together like clockwork, and it always delivers the laughs. I like the way Switching Channels preserved the satirical style of the original, which painted reporters as absolute cynics who would do anything to get a story. The dialogue moves like a horse race in this movie, and Turner and Reynolds stand toe-to-toe, blistering each other with their one-liners, while Reeve has lots of fun with the role of the millionaire would-be husband. I laughed a lot during this movie.
Just watching these characters, I didn't buy them as people. The casting to me just seemed off.
And that's the end of this Glenn Ebert, Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
Critics are calling his comedic performance vintage Reynolds.
If that dildo ever shows up here again, I want you to search every orifice in his body.
Yes, sir.
He gets to show off that wise guy humor that made him a star.
Look great with my jodhpurs, don't you think, Christy?
Oh, you ride?
Only at night.
This picture proves Burt is back.
Congratulations, Roy, you just killed the copy machine.
Despite Burt being praised, reviews were mostly negative, and unfortunately for Switching Channels, the James L. Brooks film Broadcast News, which was nominated for 7 Oscars, opened 2 months before.
15 seconds.
Stand by, please.
There was like a rhythm we got into. It was like great sex.
Is it anything like Broadcast News?
No, actually, I don't think so. I think it's a lot funnier.
Hit him with a hammer and ship the whole shebang back as damaged goods.
I would like very much for the picture to be a success because I'd like to do films that I'm proud of, and I'd like the people that want to see me in comedy be able to go and see me in more comedy. So for all those reasons, I hope it's successful. If it isn't successful, I know it's a good picture. I know it's really good.
Switching Channels did better than Burt's last 3 efforts, earning more in its opening weekend than Heat, Malone, and Rent-A-Cop did in their entire theatrical run. But it still didn't find much of an audience.
But this picture won't get pinned on him. Everyone knows it's not his movie, and they love his performance.
The answer is you cannot remake a classic.
Coming so soon after the debacle of Superman 4, it marked the end of my 9-year run as an above-the-line movie star.
To millions of fans all over the world, Christopher Reeve would always be their Superman. But sadly, in 1995, he was paralyzed from the neck down as a result of being thrown from his horse during an equestrian competition. After years of painful rehab and recovery, Reeve died in 2004. Though Burt felt the failure of the last 4 movies cost him the role of the ex-athlete turned high school football coach, played by Nick Nolte in The Prince of Tides, Switching Channels producer Martin Razanoff was so pleased with Burt's work on the film that he offered him a role in his next theatrical picture, Smoke. It was rumored that Burt had to turn down the role of John McClane in Die Hard when scheduling conflicts had him unavailable to star in that blockbuster hit.
Who knew?
No, I don't regret turning down anything Bruce Willis took.
Is he making dumb choices in the scripts he picks, or is he just unlucky lately?
You know, it's hard to tell. In the first place, I think we'd all be surprised that he hasn't been getting offered the amount of scripts that you'd think he would.
I want everybody to understand this. I don't expect to come back and ever get back to where I was before. I expect to come back and do some good work and be a working actor again, which is all I ever wanted in the first place, to have a lot of fun and be working actors and get better at our craft.
From the script originally titled Smoke, what was supposed to be the sequel to the very successful Jagged Edge, Burt stars in Physical Evidence. Burt was cast alongside what may be considered the worst romantic partner of his entire career, Teresa Russell.
No way, Jose.
I ain't Jose.
That's the first time when there's any kind of slight come on whatsoever.
Right.
And we sort of don't do it. I'm your attorney. So we can't afford this.
Afford what?
This is very much also a tribute to the 40s wave films, etc., where there was always a lot of that.
The two had such little chemistry on screen that at times it was actually uncomfortable to watch.
Jesus, Joe, can't you do anything right?
Russell had an impressive resume, working with Oscar winners like Dustin Hoffman in Straight Time,
Took my chances.
Gene Hackman and Joe Pesci in 1983's Eureka, Bill Murray in 1984's The Razor's Edge, and coming off the critically acclaimed 1987 film
Black Widow. She mates and she kills. The main reason why I wanted to do it was that since Black Widow and since some of these other films I've been involved in, I don't normally get asked to play quote-unquote normal person, always having to be neurotic or strip my clothes off or doing something.
Is that all?
What do you mean, is that all?
So this is what excited me about it. I felt it would be quite a challenge being a lawyer, and it was good fun. And Burt was a joy.
Who dresses you in the morning?
Be nice, Mr. Paris. Remember, your ass is in my hands.
Burt plays Joe Paris, a police officer accused of murder.
I've done a lot of shitty things in my life. I've never killed anybody. Very different than anything I've done. He's so volatile. I mean, he's like a volcano.
Easy, take it easy.
I was somewhat fascinated with the fact that the guy is a victim. I don't think I've ever played a victim before. I mean, a victim because he's, from the very outset of the film, you feel he's guilty. Or if he isn't guilty, then he is definitely being set up and railroaded into making the audience believe, and certainly everybody in the film believe he's guilty of murder.
Russell plays the court-appointed public defender who's out to prove his innocence.
I got nobody in there because of you and your Joe Paris.
Jenny is a public defender, and she's taking on the case of Joe Paris, who may or may not have been framed for the murder of Jake Farley. The reason she's taking it is purely for ambitious and benefits for herself, because it's a tough case and it's quite a prestigious case, and it's something that would further her career, and that is why she's taking it.
Oh, did I tell you they've got Paris's blood type on a murder weapon?
Ned Beatty appears here in his 7th film with Burt and lights up the screen in every scene.
Somebody took a big interest in the tape collection at Farley's house. Helped himself to quite a few.
Dick-faced kid.
No, it was not the dick-faced kid. He wasn't home.
Are one of you my wife? All right.
Married with Children star Ted McGinley plays Teresa Russell's annoying fiancé.
This must be his Gucci-ness.
You know, I got a mind to bust you in the mouth.
Kyle, you don't want to do that.
Directed by Michael Crichton, best known for Westworld, The Great Train Robbery, and the 1984 Tom Selleck thriller, Runaway.
This is an old-time movie. This is like one of those pictures that they used to make in the 40s.
This is Tony. I'm gonna get you, asshole.
There's no special effects. There's no aliens. There's no monsters. They're just people doing dramatic scenes, walking and talking, and it's delightful.
Oh, yeah?
It's time for a Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
And our first film is called Physical Evidence, and it's a surefire candidate for one of the year's worst films, and it's only January. Burt Reynolds stars, and that's no surprise, continuing his amazing track record of making boring films.
Great.
Reynolds is boring, that's nothing new, but this is the first time I've seen Teresa Russell in a dim-witted commercial movie. The most badly acted scene in the movie, the one I prayed I wouldn't see, is the inevitable love scene as Reynolds makes a ham-bone pitch for Russell's affection.
How would I ever get mixed up with you?
Too late now.
I did not believe a word they were saying. I was tired of the film's predictable story. Do you really think Burt Reynolds is going to play a villain? And Teresa Russell shows none of the brightness of her previously distinguished work.
Fuck you, you arrogant asshole!
There are no thrills, there are no pleasures whatsoever in Physical Evidence.
Bullshit!
Teresa Russell doesn't know, did Burt Reynolds really kill his wife? Did he really commit this murder? In this movie, there was never a moment when we think that that's a serious possibility. And as far as chemistry between the two of them, there's none.
Just get out of here.
I think maybe I owe you an explanation.
The acting styles are different. Russell is not comfortable in this kind of acting.
It's like the fingernail on the blackboard reaction.
There's very bad writing here and very bad playing, and Reynolds does not take risks, which is why you do not believe that he's going to turn into a villain.
I didn't know I was so popular.
And that's the end of this Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
If I cared about what people say to me, that are sometimes the most cruel things I've ever read in my life, and Burt bashing has been really in vogue the last few years, I would give up the business. I can't give a damn about what they say, because if I did, it would hurt too much.
And Physical Evidence was no exception.
What the hell's the matter with you, anyway?
Angered by a review in the Palm Beach Post, Sally Wagner, president of the Burt Reynolds fan club, took out a full-page ad in the same paper highlighting reviews that praised Burt.
Amazing.
Released with little promotion, Physical Evidence was another failure at the box office for Burt, landing on Gene Siskel's top 10 worst films of the year.
a stupid little thriller called Physical Evidence. With Teresa Russell, naturally, he makes a sexual move on her. Doesn't Reynolds realize that his kind of suave behavior is really out of date?
Shockingly, Michael Crichton would never direct another picture. But perhaps that's okay when you go on to write one of the greatest science fiction novels of all time, Jurassic Park.
I don't need anybody.
Due to his ongoing financial problems, Burt decided to let his beloved theater go. He held a press conference explaining that he wanted to donate it to Palm Beach Community College, but it turned out the school couldn't accept the gift. So on August 5th, 1989, the final show being A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Burt announced that the theater had been sold to producer Richard Atkins.
I sold the theater, but I still kept Brit, which is the institute. I mean, there's 20 this year, 10 to 20 kids, and 70% of them are working. And one young man who was an apprentice for us, the year before last, made $2.5 million because he created and wrote every episode of Quantum Leap.
Well, the status of the theater is that somebody else's. It's their problem. I sold it. It got to the political football, and when people started screaming about taking beach property away, I just sold it.
Burt really loved his theater, but it only made money 2 out of the 10 years he ran it.
I think I've done enough for everybody, and it's time I did something for my family.
Hey.
Hey. I have a movie coming out, and everybody seems to be excited about.
We're working with Bill Forsyth, the director, and John Sayles wrote the script.
I play a 65-year-old man. It's called Breaking In.
And it's a very exciting world of underground safecracking.
Ernie is an artist, an expert, a master at what he does. Mike is just breaking in.
I think they'd notice that one.
You and I are in the same business, kid.
Huh?
Monkey business.
Working for the Screen Actors Guild's lowest scale, Burt delivered his best performance in years in the underrated and overlooked Breaking In.
Come on now, tell me what you really do for a living, because I don't see you selling insurance at all.
I'm a currency relocator.
Writer John Sayles didn't have Burt in mind when he wrote the screenplay.
I was thinking of either Walter Matthau or somebody like Harry Dean Stanton. Burt Reynolds never crossed my mind. And then when I heard he was cast, I had one moment of Burt Reynolds, because he had been making these kind of Smoking and the Bear movies where he was doing a lot of turning to the camera and winking kind of stuff. But then I remembered, this is a guy who has a wonderful sense of comic timing.
I thought I discovered some new way of losing weight. Throwing up.
And he doesn't have to have a joke to be funny. He understands what's funny.
Burt wasn't director Bill Forsyth's first choice either. He wanted Frasier star John Mahoney, but the producers wanted a big name, so Burt was cast as the aging safecracker Ernie.
I'm looking at Burt and Casey now and thinking I lucked out by the way things went. John gave me a great script. Burt Reynolds gave me a great performance.
Hey, Ernie, we doing the right thing?
Doing the wrong thing, kid. We're thieves, remember?
He was working towards becoming more of a serious actor. He'd worked with Alan J. Pakula on Starting Over, which I think he was a little peeved that every cast member in that film had been nominated for Oscars except for him. He had been passed over, so I think he just kind of reverted back to his previous smoky persona. So I think by the time Breaking In came along, it gave him a really meaty character.
I'm 61 years old. Every once in a while, I feel good, you know. The blood is circulating. I want to get laid.
Yeah, but hookers?
25-year-old hookers, might I add. You want one my age, it'd be a hell of a lot cheaper.
Yeah, he was a solid actor. I don't know how much he got paid, but probably part of doing this movie was, I want to remind people I'm an actor.
Next time you want an apple, you buy it.
Burt, who was 53 years old at the time, spent 3 hours a day in makeup to create the appearance of a man in his 60s.
And these are the second thing they are.
What's the first?
I can't remember. It was not fun getting a turkey neck every morning and spending 2 hours getting uglier. That was not a lot of fun because it's depressing, because you go in there to sit down to get better looking and you just got older and older.
Adding to the makeup, Burt's character also walks with a limp.
It's a long trip back on that bus. You want to sack out here, you can.
Nah, I really want to get home.
I ain't queer.
Put your mind at ease.
Wow, man, I wasn't even thinking that.
Oh, come on, I read you like a book, kid. I got better reviews in a picture I did called Breaking In because I had no hair and played 70 and had a limp. And I wasn't better in that movie than I was in Starting Over.
What do you want?
I want us to get married. I want us to have kids. Watch them grow up.
You do get more credit if you have a, hump on your back and, talk that way.
He's actually quoted as saying, "I've spent an entire career making the characters me. This is the first time I have done it the other way around." He apparently loved the script and the material so much that he, according to notes I have, he worked for SAG Scale, which is, for a star like him, peanuts.
I feel ridiculous.
You are ridiculous, but you got potential. You can work for me, maybe.
For the first time since 1979's Starting Over, Burt appeared without his legendary mustache.
You shaved your mustache off. Looks pretty good. Looks good.
New life, new face.
Starring opposite Burt was Casey Siemaszko, fresh off the hit movie Young Guns.
You and I.
Casey had previously appeared in movies such as Back to the Futures 1 and 2, Stand By Me, and Biloxi Blues with Matthew Broderick and Christopher Walken.
Get a job. Get a number. Get some discipline. Otherwise, we're through.
With its great script, top performances, and quirky score, it's impossible not to be charmed by Burt in Breaking In.
I think this dog has got a little larceny in his blood, just like you, kid.
Burt received some of his best reviews in quite some time, with most critics saying Breaking In was Burt's best performance since Starting Over or Deliverance.
It's difficult on one side when you've been clobbered by reviews for a while. If you're going to refuse to believe the bad things, it's kind of hard to suddenly believe all the good things. So I'm trying to just remain level and have a good time.
The movie was honored at the New York Film Festival,
which is the first time I've ever had a film in the New York Film Festival, and then to have it close the festival is quite an honor. I've had a lot of commercial success and done a lot of pictures that have made an awful lot of money, but this is a different kind of thing. This is a critical success, and I didn't think I was in those kind of films.
Hey, you trust me with the money?
Yeah, I do.
Hello, I'm Burt Reynolds. The scenes you're about to see were not staged, they actually happened. And what's even more unbelievable, the people survived.
It's time for a Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
And our next film is something rare because it features a solid, non-flashy performance by Burt Reynolds. In a caper movie called Breaking In, Reynolds plays a veteran burglar who stumbles upon a young amateur thief while robbing a wall safe in somebody else's home.
Don't tell him you know me, huh?
Of course not. What do you think I am?
I think you're a fucking wacko that goes creeping around people's houses for the thrill of it.
That's Casey Siemaszko as Mike. He's just great, playing a kid who knows nothing about being a professional crook when Reynolds first takes him under his wing. This is a movie about teaching, about father and son kind of learning, and some of the teaching goes both ways.
It's just hype, so they can go back out on the street tomorrow and rattle their cans some more.
Breaking In is more than just talk, more than just one-liners. Writer John Sayles and director Bill Forsyth, two fine, quirky, independent filmmakers, really give these characters plenty of odd moments together. It's hard to predict where this story is going to take us. And add to that the fresh appeal of Casey Siemaszko and a revived Burt Reynolds staying in character, and Breaking In is welcome indeed.
It is a good movie, and it was refreshing to see Burt Reynolds again at the top of his form. Burt Reynolds is an actor who can play very convincingly in not only in light comedy roles, but also in this role, which has a little heart to it and a little deeper characterization, too.
Yeah, I thought of Robert Aldrich from The Hustle, which I liked him in so much years ago, where he was in a character and there was none of the references to contemporary life.
Right. Somehow he got sidetracked somehow into those dumb car crash movies, and then he started playing himself as if every role he was just a guest on a talk show.
Right. You stole my entire fucking career. I don't even exist. I'm invisible.
Here he's acting again, and it's very refreshing, and he has Bill Forsyth, who is able to find these offbeat moments, these little moments that reveal character, so that it's not just a caper movie. Really, it's a relationship movie. Absolutely. It's about how the young thief and the old thief learn the trade or don't learn the trade together and also learn about each other. It's a fun movie.
Those two guys used to be tops.
And that's the end of this Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
Sadly, despite getting his best reviews in a decade, Burt was ignored come award season. But he shouldn't have felt too disheartened, as just like in 1979's Academy Awards, when he was overlooked for starting over, the Best Actor category was stacked with top performances by Daniel Day-Lewis, Tom Cruise, Morgan Freeman, and Robin Williams.
Burt Reynolds, Casey Shamasco, Breaking In.
Although the movie received positive reviews, the $5.5 million budgeted Breaking In was a financial failure at the box office, grossing only $1.9 million. Burt blamed the studio, Samuel Goldwyn, for releasing it nationwide rather than letting it build word of mouth, debuting it in a few cities first.
Poor kid.
Poor old guy.
Of all the guys I know, you are the one guy who has everything. No wife, no kids, no house, no mortgage. What else could you ask for?
I don't know. I envy you.
With his movie career stuttering, with only switching channels grossing over $4 million at the box office.
Well, I haven't had a hit since Joan Collins was a virgin, you know.
Burt's private life couldn't have been better. He had married Loni Anderson, and during the filming of Breaking In, had received a phone call to tell him that he was finally a father.
Those tabloids, you know, they announced my engagement to Loni, and I think that's nice. But it was about a month after they announced that I was dying from AIDS.
In 1985, I began construction of the chapel, a place where I'd either die or get married.
I said, when the chapel's done, we'll get married. Took 9 years to build this chapel, and I kept telling him, it's too fast.
This wasn't Burt's first rodeo. His marriage to Judy Carn in 1963 ended 3 years later, so it took quite a while for him to commit once again.
I would say it made me paranoid. Well, I'd like to get married again, but I'd like to make a success of it.
At the age of 50, I realized life wasn't all about money and toys. Sure, they were fun, but they didn't guarantee happiness. I had the past to prove it. I found myself pondering and yearning for stability, companionship, and richness that comes from a marriage and a family, things you can't buy. On the other hand, I couldn't wait to become a parent. In my 50s, I felt the time was running out.
I want a son.
What for?
For me.
Burt had never made it a secret of his desire to have children.
I mean, I'm not thinking about marriage at this particular time. I've been thinking about having a kid for about 10 years.
All right, we bought you a kid. Here he is. Your very own child. Now can we have no more of this carping about having a child?
Unfortunately, despite Burt and Loni's eagerness to start a family,
Would you like to make a baby?
Loni never fell pregnant.
It worked, didn't it? Tell me it worked. Tell me it worked.
Burt and Loni's luck changed just after Christmas 1987.
Hot damn, the rabbit died. I knew it. I knew it. The rabbit died.
When they heard about a girl who was putting her baby up for adoption.
I have been born and raised and have in my mind, and I'll never get it out, that when I have a baby, I'm going to have to get married.
So I guess I'll have to get married.
Is that an official announcement, or?
That's an official announcement.
When we wanted to be parents, we got married.
I'll bet you 10,000 big ones that I'm married within a year.
You'd get married just to win.
The reason we got married was this young man right here, which was the best decision that we ever made in our entire relationship.
So, after signing a prenuptial agreement, the date was in place.
We knew what we were getting into when we got married. He planned the entire wedding. He picked out my flowers. He picked out the cake. All I got to choose was my dress.
I planned the event,
It was a Burt Reynolds production.
including the design of her wedding ring, a 7-carat canary yellow diamond encircled by smaller diamonds.
And it was just gorgeous. He got it for me in every color because he said, you'll never be without your wedding ring. And don't tell me it doesn't go with your dress.
Burt's last night as a bachelor was spent at his dinner theater watching a production of I'm Not Rappaport, starring Ozzie Davis, Joe Silver, and Ted McGinley, a show Burt was directing.
Of course, you realize that what you're about to do is a very serious step.
So on a gorgeous sunny day in April 1988, at the exact same time his parents married, Burt and Loni exchanged their vows, with Burt's dad walking Loni down the aisle.
He used to call us the top of the wedding cake.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you Burt, Loni, Reynolds.
People were applauding. Nobody ever thought Burt would get married.
It was a lavish affair with lots of celebrity friends, including Anne Margaret and Jim Neighbors, who also sang at the ceremony.
I'm a very lucky man, I said, as I raised a glass of champagne. I married my best friend today. I feel like Cinderella, Loni replied, dabbing her wet eyes. I married Prince Charming.
Here comes the little woman to mop you down. It's one of her wifely duties.
See, that's what happens when you get married, guys.
It's wonderful.
Just like that. It's amazing.
She's great with a mop.
And you go home and they beat the tar out of it.
America's most famous bachelor bit the dust, huh?
Yeah.
Good?
Good? You mean biting the dust?
Yeah.
Well,
a new tick has arrived.
Nobody could have been more excited about adopting a child than Burt. I made sure that when they came through the door with Quinton, that Burt was the first person to hold him, not me. He wanted that experience so badly, and I wanted it for him. It was joyous.
I didn't know I could love anyone as much or as deeply as I did Quinton. First afternoon he was with us, I sat in a rocker and gave him a bottle.
This baby, I want you to take it back to its mother.
Just like Burt's iconic character when he co-starred in the television series
Gunsmoke.
Back in 1962, the name they chose for their boy, Quinton.
I always liked that name. I always thought Quint was a wonderful name. There was a famous journalist named Quinton Reynolds who was back in the days of Drew Pearson and when there really were wonderful journalists around who really wrote about people and not what they thought they did. And this guy was a great writer. I always admired him too.
I'd like to meet Quint Reynolds. Did you get in any trouble, Colonel? No, we didn't have much trouble today. Find the target all right? You bet we did. You did?
It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life.
It does change your priorities around considerably. Yeah. By choice, actually, find yourself not going anywhere because I just sort of stare at him for hours. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling.
Quinton had us all mesmerized. He received a standing ovation when he took his first steps at 10 months. The biggest thrill of my life occurred when Quinton walked into a room full of people and picked me out. Dada, I love you. I might not have been a matinee idol any longer, but I was number one in this young guy's eyes.
No, he wants to be with his kid.
Quinton's godparents were Ricardo and Georgina Montalban.
Oh, hi, Quinton. Yay. Do you like riding with Dad?
Last night I was sitting in the bathtub with my son and he was slapping the water and the water was flying over and I was just thinking to myself, this is just about the best time I think I've ever had in my life. Finally, Loni came in and said, are you going to get out of there? You've been in there for an hour. And I said, I'm not getting out till he wants to get out. It was so much fun.
Such unconditional love, just picking my son up, made all my problems disappear. He forced me to mature, something others have tried for years, but failed. He didn't care what I did for a living, that I was famous or lived in a big house. He loved me because I was his dad.
It's wonderful to have somebody who actually loves you and doesn't know what you do for a living. It's a wonderful feeling. I mean, he passes the room sometimes and I'll be on television. I'll say, that's Daddy, and he'll go, yeah.
As my comfort grew with Quinton, I also became more comfortable with myself. My life took on a greater clarity and a focus. I quit searching for father figures and I finally grew up. I faced myself and I became a man.
There is this mystery about you when you see somebody on the big screen and you kind of want that mystery to stay on. You don't want them to ever be mortal. They're somebody that you go and see and you pay money to see them, which is different than watching them on television. I mean, if you took a microscope out and put it on your pores of your nose, you'd find that you are terribly human. It's just impossible sometimes to deal with that. But to say that there's some secret to why this person makes it or that person makes it, I think the bottom line is that it's probably courage and luck and talent in that order.
And there you have it. Another chapter in the historic career of the great Burt Reynolds. Guessing that first attempt at a comeback wasn't what you had hoped, huh? I love the new look.
New life, new face.
You know, it seems at this time you were happier than ever with Loni and Quinton. It's not all bad, right? Oh, by the way, I'm sorry about the whole Gator McKlusky thing. It's such a cool name. Some of your fans actually think I'm you.
The credit for some of my scores. A lot of my scores. Big celebrity.
I wouldn't say big. I'm just trying to honor your legacy.
You did right, kid.
You know, your fan base really cares about you. They write me in the comments section all the time about how much they love you and miss you.
Interesting.
I certainly want to thank all the viewers for your tremendous support. I always appreciate the amazing comments you take the time to write. Your support continues to help drive me bring the most comprehensive tribute possible. Don't laugh at me. This isn't easy, buddy. You should try doing this.
You should think about getting a straight girl and a straight job.
I get all that shit. By the way, check out these great things I got from your estate sale. I mean, this in particular. I mean, look, it's got the Horse Ranch logo on it. I also got this USC shirt. I don't know why you had this, but I'm gonna take care of it.
You damn well better have. I paid a fortune for them.
Come on, fat ass, wrap it up.
I gotta go, buddy. I'm gonna miss you, man.
Dickhead, I said now.
Hey, give us a minute, pal. I got a legend here.
This gives me the creeps.
Gives you the creeps. You should try taking a shower in this joint. By the way, in the next chapter, I'm gonna dig into the early 90s. Another return to TV with BL Stryker and Evening Shade, and then back to the big screen in Cop and a Half. Oh, and a big shout out to my writing partner, Mr. Al Glasgow, who I couldn't have done this without. Here's to Al.
Moron.
Yeah, buddy?
Thanks for standing up for me in here.
I'm just trying to give back a little. For all you did for me up there on the big screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get notified about new videos and original Burt Reynolds content right here on the Gator McKlusky channel.